10:35 p.m. Taehyung was busy with his work in his office room. His fingers were working fast on the keyboard when there was a knock on the door. For a moment his fingers stopped working on the keyboard. "Come in," he says in his usual cool tone. The door opens and Mrs. Kim enters with a mug of coffee. She places the mug on the table. She just stands there. "Do you have something to say?" Taehyung says without taking his eyes off the laptop screen. "Mrs. Kim, son, your grandmother is not well. That's why your uncle is calling me there. I have to leave early." She speaks worriedly. Taehyung, "I'm okay. When do you want to go?" Mrs. Kim, "I have to go now." Taehyung, "Okay, you go. No problem," he said, busy with work. But Mrs. Kim remained standing. The real problem was something else she wanted to talk to Taehyung about. Mrs. Kim, Taehyung, Mrs. Kim, actually, I had an important work for you. Taehyung, "What kind of work?" Mrs. Kim, "There's a responsibility that I want to give you." Mrs. Kim, "Actually, Mr. Choi's daughter is coming to Korea until tomorrow morning." So, Mrs. Kim, "So I have to go to my mother's house. So who will take care of her?" You have to take this responsibility. Please. Taehyung, "What? Mom, how can you do this?" he said with mild anger. Mrs. Kim, "My dear, please." She knew Taehyung didn't like all this. She knew that Taehyung was a loner and busy with his own work. It was impossible for him to take responsibility to take care of someone, and that to a girl. She had to beg Taehyung, and finally, Taehyung had to agree. Mrs. Kim, "Thank you, son. Okay, I have to go, so you take care of yourself. And yes, one more thing." She turned while leaving. "Ran is a childish girl. So please be careful. Just adjust." After saying that, she left. Taehyung, "Duh. Now I have to do all this?" he said angrily. Time skip. Morning, 9:17. Today, for the first time in his life, Taehyung felt like driving was a tour. Sitting on the seat next to him, that little disaster was being talked continuously for half an hour. When Taehyung's phone rings, he tells him to keep quiet. Seeing Mrs. Kim's call, he picks up the call. Mrs. Kim, "Hello, son. How are you? Did you pick N from the airport or not?" "Yes, Mom, I did." Mrs. Kim, "Okay, give her the phone. I need to talk to her." Taehyung gave the phone to Yin. "Yin. Hello, Auntie, how are you?" She put the phone to her ear and shouted happily. Mrs. Kim, "Yin, dear, how are you?" Yin, "I'm fine, Auntie. Why didn't you pick me up?" She pouted. Mrs. Kim, "I'm sorry, dear." And then she started to explain to Yin the reason for not being there. Yin, "No problem, Auntie." Time skip. After arriving home, Tae put Yin's stuff in her room, and then came to Yin and asked, "Do you want breakfast?" Yin, "No, I ate during the flight. Now I just want to sleep. I'm tired." Tae, "Okay, you can rest. I am already quite late from office," he said, looking at the wristwatch. "There is food in the kitchen. Eat if you feel hungry," he said coldly and left there, and Yin went towards the room. Introduction time. Kim Taehyung is a 25-year-old very handsome man, and he is also an underworld mafia. He is a cold-natured person. He doesn't talk to anyone much. After the death of his father at a young age, he took over the entire business and even the management of his mother. Being busy with all these things, he could never pay attention to his own self and became absorbed in his own self. He would hide his emotions from everyone. It would be better to say that till date he has not found anyone with whom he can share his heart. Mrs. Kim used to be very worried because of this. And about Yin. Yin was Mr. Choi's daughter. Mr. Choi was Taehyung's father's best friend. After Mr. Kim's death, Mr. Choi came to Korea occasionally, but Yin came to Korea for the first time. She has been hearing about Mr. Kim and his family from her father since childhood. She was very fond of meeting the Kim family, and especially meeting their mafia son. I think that's enough. Back to story. 02 p.m. Yin wakes up from sleep and saw the time. Yin, "Oh, I slept for a long time. It's okay. Anyway, I couldn't sleep last night." She gets up from the bed and goes to the washroom with her clothes. She walks down the stairs. No one was present in the house, except her, There was silence in the whole house. She walks into the kitchen and looking for food. Time skip. After lunch, she examines the whole house. The house was huge and beautiful, but desolation was dripping from the walls of the house. She comes to the garden and sits on a chair. She rests her head on the back of the chair and closes her eyes. Her attention drifts towards Taehyung unintentionally. He was undoubtedly very handsome, but a cold nature was characteristic of him. She was talking continuously in the car, but Taehyung felt as though it was forbidden for him to say even a single word. After some time, she falls asleep thinking about him. Night. Tae was sitting on his bed busy on his laptop, while Yin was preparing dinner in the kitchen. There were no servants here, since there was not much work in the house. Mrs. Kim used to do all the work herself. After preparing food, she knocks on the door of Tae's room. Tae, come in. Cold. Yin, Appa, dinner is ready. Tae, I'm not hungry. You should eat. He spoke without looking at her. Yin, Appa, please, I made it myself. Please eat once. She is innocently stubborn. So Tae takes a deep breath and stands up, closing the laptop. He is quietly eating dinner while Yin watches him with interest. He is getting ready for bed when Yin knocks on the door. Yin, Appa. Tae. What? Yin, I want to sleep. Tae, then go and sleep. Yin, no, I will not sleep in my room. Tae, what? Is your brain okay? Why should I let you sleep in my room? Yin, please, Appa, please. Tae, no, never. Go to your room and sleep. Yin, please, Appa. I have never slept alone. I'm afraid to be alone. Tae, Yin, you're not a little girl anymore now. You are 18 years old. Leave all this childishness and go to sleep. Tears form in Yin's eyes, which Tae notices. He takes a deep breath and tries to calm himself down. Tae, fine. Sleep here. Yin gets happy and sits on the bed, but her smile disappears when she sees Tae getting up. Yin, Appa, Tae, just stop it, Yin. Sleep quietly. He knew what she wanted to say, so he silenced her. She was afraid to sleep alone. Otherwise, she wouldn't bother Taehyung at all. But she didn't feel good that Tae slept on the couch because of her. But she also knew that he wouldn't listen to her, so she was content to sleep quietly. The next morning when she wakes up, Tae is not at home. She sees the clock showing 10:06. She freshens up and goes down the stairs. While making breakfast, she wonders whether Tae is eating breakfast or not. After breakfast, she washed the dishes and cleaned the whole house. Now she was sitting face down on the couch. She was in a bad mood, with boredom. But then her brain light turned on and she took out the phone and started calling Mrs. Kim. He rests his head against the back of the bed and closes his eyes as he closes the file. Yin and Tae haven't spoken to each other since last night. Then there is a knock at the door and Yin enters. Yin, Appa, please play with me. Innocent smile. Tae, Yin, please don't bother me. He spoke without opening his eyes. Yin, please, Appa, I am bored all day. Yin, Appa, you are not talking to me since I came here. Don't you like me? Tae sits up straight and looks Yin in the tearful eyes. He doesn't know why those tears make him uncomfortable. Her heart softens. He holds her hand and sits her on the bed next to him. Tae, it's not like that. You tell me what you want. Softly, Yin becomes happy. Yin, I came to Korea for the first time. Will you take me out for a visit? Tae, okay, get ready. Yin happily gets up and runs off to get ready. A small smile crosses Tae's lips. He didn't know why he was doing this, but he didn't want to think about all that. And they both had a lot of fun. It was the first time in his life that Tae had shared so much time with someone. For the first time, he did not feel bad about someone else's presence near him. She kept talking to him all the time, asking him for lots of delicious food, and he kept fulfilling all her requests. He had temporarily forgotten the tension of work. From that day, Taehyung and Yin started spending a lot of time together. After coming from his office, she would either engage him in a game, or they would cook together or go out to hang out. Tae didn't know it, but he was starting to change. When Yin happily tells all this to Mrs. Kim on the phone, she doesn't believe it at all, but she is happy that her son is starting to live some life. After 2 days, They were both having breakfast when Tae got up and said, "Okay, I'm leaving." Yin raised her head. "Appa, Tae." He said, busy on the phone. "Why or Ann? Appa, can I go with you to your office?" Tae. "Huh, but what will you do when you go there?" Yin. "Please Appa, I am bored here all day, you also come home at night." Tae. Okay, get ready quickly." Yin. "Really? Can I go?" She runs away happily. She was looking at this big building with admiring eyes. Taehyung tells him to walk in. She was walking behind Tae, looking at the things around her, and his office was more magnificent than all these things. He sits in his chair and looks at Yin, who was happily looking at the office stuff like a child. Her father also owned an office, but she had never visited his office till date.
Tae, you're cheering like you've never seen this before. I used to see all this in K-dramas, so I always wanted to go to the office of a handsome hero. When she spoke happily, he shook his head and smiled.
Tae called someone from the office phone. "Where is Miss Shin?" Miss Shin was Taehyung's secretary. Tae. "Okay, send Mr. Park to me with my schedule." Afternoon. He was busy doing things when Yin came to him. "Yin, Appa, it is afternoon. I am hungry." Tae. "Oh, tell me what you want to eat. I'll order it." Yin gets happy. "Really? I will eat a lot of food." Tae smiled and started ordering Yin's favorite food. Yin also forced Tae to have lunch with her. After that, Tae called one of his employees and made her visit the entire office. She was very happy. Today, she was enjoying being in Tae's company. She was so close to a boy for the first time in her life. And something similar happened to Tae. He didn't know why he was so lenient with her. But now the matter may have escalated. Perhaps the matter was now of the heart. Yes. For the first time in his life, he could not stop someone from entering his heart. That little girl was his love now. Tae was preparing dinner when Yin comes into the kitchen. "Yin, Appa, the weather outside is not good. It looks like it will rain." Tae. You sit down. Dinner is ready." The two of them are having dinner when Tae's phone rings. Tae picks up the call. "Hello, what happened?" "Sir, there is a problem. Please come to the office early." Tae quickly gets up to leave CZ. He knew he didn't get a call from the office for nothing. "Yin, what happened, Appa?" she said, seeing him get up. Tae. "Yin, I have to leave for the office," he says and heads up the stairs. Yin. At that time, but you came from the office some time ago. After a while he gets ready and comes downstairs.